the mic.
Get on the mic.
Just get on the mic. Get on the mic, Mike.
Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome to Get on the Mic. That's where we put me in front of a microphone with a few notes and I talk about some of the more interesting things that have happened throughout the world of entertainment this week, or whatever else I feel like talking about. As always, I am your host, the Reel Geno Reynolds, and today we've got a pretty packed program for you. We'll be talking about John Wick 3's title. It's been revealed, and it's not what you'd think it would be. Also, we'll be talking about a new RoboCop sequel to the original 1987 movie. Also, our What is DC Doing segment continues. Big shock there. We'll be talking about the possibility of an R-rated Birds of Prey movie. We'll also be talking about the Joaquin Phoenix Joker movie and is it actually happening. Also, we'll be talking about The Rock's Black Adam movie and is it happening. We'll switch over to Marvel and we'll be talking about we'll have some Avengers Infinity War news. Also, we'll be talking about a great Marvel wrong that has finally been righted. And then lastly, in our big stories, we'll be talking about another Cinema Snob movie. First thing we're going to be talking about today is John Wick 3's title. Now, we've covered a ton of John Wick news on this podcast. Both movies are awesome, so why wouldn't we? I love them. This week saw a little bit more news come out about the movie in the form of the official title. Now, one would assume that it would have been called John Wick Chapter 3 to follow up on the last movie's title, John Wick Chapter 2. But that isn't the case for right now anyway. In an interview, Keanu Reeves said that the title for the third installment would be called John Wick 3 Parabellum. Parabellum being Latin for prepare for war. Now, the title does make perfect sense. Given how we left the character at the end of Chapter 2 with John on the run from literally everyone involved in the assassination game with a $14 million bounty on his head for breaking the rules of the Continental by blowing somebody's head off with inside the walls of it. While I'm fine with this title, and for me this movie can't come soon enough, I'm going to nitpick it just a little bit. I really do hope that they change the title to John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum, and then go back and change the titles to the other movies to John Wick Chapter 1 subtitle, John Wick Chapter 2 subtitle, just to give a bit of continuity to all of it. Kind of similar to what they did to the Riddick movies where you had Pitch Black, and then they ended up changing it to, the Riddick Chronicles, Pitch Black, things like that. In the interview, Reeves also talked about Halle Berry, who's joining the franchise in this third installment. He said, quote, John Wick is fighting for his life and thinks that Halle Berry's character has some information for him. They have a past, and they get involved with the High Table, this kind of overlording entity. And that's all he really said about the movie. I'm sure he's having to be careful with what he says to, spare any big-time spoilers. All I can really say at the end of this is May 16th, 2019, can't get here soon enough. Of course, that's when John Wick 3 Parabellum comes to theaters. Now we're going to be talking about a new RoboCop sequel. To the original 1987 movie, if you can believe it. So, before I get into that, I gotta kind of preface something else. So we're in this day and age where, how do I put this? I guess it's cool to just ignore a movie's history, erase it, and then try again. This has been done before. This isn't anything new. It's been done before, like in the case of Superman Returns. Remember the word returns, by the way. Where Bryan Singer wanted to all but forget that Superman 3 and Superman 4 Quest for Peace happened. Nowadays, it seems to be the thing to ignore a movie's history. Like on-screen history. The new Halloween movie pretty much says that nothing after the first movie happened. Nothing. All those movies, none of them happened. Just the first one. No mention of Halloween 3 has gone from canon, being that was supposed to be, not they wanted to start telling different stories other than of Michael Myers. Supposed to be, they were trying to turn it into an anthology series, and then Halloween 3 was straight to television, didn't do very well. I could really make a lot of people mad by singing the Silver Shamrock song right now, I know that. It'll definitely get stuck in your head. The Terminator franchise has tried to erase some of their sequels by the use of both time travel within the story with Terminator Genesis, and with ignoring anything past T2 Judgment Day with the new reboot bringing back Linda Hamilton as Sarah Connor. It's coming out soon. And of course her character was dead in part 3. She wasn't even in the movie. Though it never happened, there were talks of District 9 director Neil Blomkamp, remember that name as well, making a movie in the Aliens franchise that would erase everything after Aliens. With concept art concept art of it showed that Ripley and Hicks would have survived the events of the second movie. Hicks had like a big scarred face, and it was, though again they were wanting to get rid of, Alien 3 and all, I don't know if they would have counted the Alien vs. Predator movies in there, but they want to get rid of Aliens 3 and 4. Of course, this got canceled. It didn't happen. This got canceled because Ridley Scott wanted to make Prometheus relevant for some reason and gave us Alien Covenant. Yay. But now there is a new franchise looking to erase its past. And of course, I'm talking about RoboCop. The original movie screenwriter, which by the way, the original RoboCop, fantastic. Now, I enjoy movies 2 and 3, but the original is still one of my favorites. The original movie screenwriters, Edward Lumiere and Michael Miner, had a spec script, or a speculative screenplay, which is a non-commissioned and unsolicited screenplay, for a sequel to the original movie years ago. What stopped them back then was the writer's strike of 1988, as well as Paul Verhoeven's lack of interest in making another installment of RoboCop. Of course, in 1990, we got a sequel to RoboCop written by comic legend Frank Miller and directed by Irvin Kershner. This led to a third RoboCop movie, which, not a lot of people like. A couple of failed TV shows, a couple of animated series, some video games, a reboot movie, just a few years back, toys, everything. RoboCop was a thing that they kept trying to bring back. Well, now all that stuff that took place after the first movie is going bye-bye. While his Aliens reimagined history never got off the ground, MGM has hired Neil Blomkamp to direct RoboCop Returns, which will be based on the spec script mentioned just a bit ago and will continue directly from the original film. Excuse me. When interviewed about the project, Blomkamp talked about how RoboCop had a, quote, massive effect on him as a child. He said, quote, "I loved it then, and it remains a classic in the end of the 20th century sci-fi catalog with real meaning under the surface. Hopefully that is something we can get closer to in the making of a sequel. That is my goal here. What I connected to as a kid has evolved over time. At first, the consumerism, materialism, and Reaganomics, that 80s theme of America on steroids, came through most strongly. But as I've gotten older, the part that really resonated with me is identity and the search for identity, as long as the human component is there. A good story can work in any time period. It's not locked to a specific place in history." RoboCop Returns is going to be set in a crime-ridden Detroit and center around the cyborg RoboCop as he is forced to come back to the city and save it from the brink of anarchy. For me, for this to really work, you have to get back anybody that you can from the original movie. That survived the original movie anyway. Peter Weller and Nancy Allen as Murphy and Lewis are a must. Now that I think about it, probably the majority or all of the other important characters from that movie either died in the movie or have passed away in real life. Felton Perry as OCP executive Donald Johnson would be a good one to bring back. He's still around. Michael Gregory. I don't remember about Johnson. I believe he survived all the movies. Michael Gregory could come back as Lieutenant Hedgecock. He's the SWAT officer in the first movie, that the one that's talking to the councilman or whatever that has the hostages. Hell, is the I'd buy that for $1 guy still alive? Look, I'm seriously asking because I cannot find the answer to that. I'm willing to bet if he's not around, he's pretty old. He was pretty old in the original RoboCop, at least to see him that way. I'm really curious where this one could go. Well, I didn't hate the reboot from a few years back. It did sort of miss the point of the original movie's message. That being said, I'd probably eventually let my kids watch the reboot before I let them watch the original as they're younger. It'll be interesting how bad things will have gotten in a Detroit, in this movie's Detroit, that was already terrible in the first movie. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to actually seeing what comes of this, but I'm going to be afraid if they don't get at least Peter Weller back to play RoboCop, especially if the movie's set years later. I mean, you could de-age. I mean, you really only got to show his face, so you could just de-age his face somehow, or just make it look like wear and tear on the robot itself. All right, so now we're going to be talking about, as we have been the last few weeks, what is DC doing? First, an R-rated Birds of Prey movie. Margot Robbie has been out and about talking up ideas for the Birds of Prey movie that is in the works. She had previously revealed to Collider in May that she had pitched Warner Brothers on the idea of an R-rated girl gang film including Harley. She said, quote, "Harley needs friends. Harley loves interacting with people, so don't ever make her do a standalone film. She's got to be with other people. It should be a girl gang. I wasn't seeing enough girl gangs on screen, especially in the action space, so that was always a big part of it," end quote. Now, while the R rating isn't confirmed, Robbie does seem confident that it will happen, saying that the movie will be, quote, different from the other Harley movies and made with, quote, a smaller budget. This could be because Warner Brothers doesn't want to lose the money that a non-PG-13 DCEU movie might lose because of the movie's age restriction. Kind of like the first Deadpool movie. They gave them a lower budget because they were afraid they were going to lose money on it, even though it ended up breaking in dough. The movie is supposed to feature the characters of Black Canary, Barbara Gordon, Huntress, and others. This could be a good jumping off point for those characters and other female characters such as Poison Ivy, Catwoman, and others. Since the roster does seem rooted in the Batverse anyway. You would want to stick with the Batman characters, I think would probably be the smartest move. Now, notice before that I said Barbara Gordon and not Batgirl. That's because the rumor is that the story will revolve around a post-Killing Joke Gordon, who is confined to a wheelchair after being ambushed by the Joker. Now, one would assume, if this were the case, she would be in the Oracle phase of her crime-fighting career. So she'd kind of be the support character to the other heroes, the eye in the sky type of character, keeping everyone connected communication-wise, and, keeping track of crime and everything else that's all going on in the city of Gotham. If they do this version of the character, I'm also going to guess that we'll probably get a flashback or two about her time as Batgirl and the ambush itself, with a Jared Leto version of Vacation Joker, perhaps. Sticking with what is DC doing, the Joaquin Phoenix Joker movie, is it actually happening? The rumors of this movie have been swirling around for a while now, and many even assumed, myself included, that this one was a done deal. But is it? Why, yes it is. We now know that this is officially a thing. Joaquin Phoenix will star in the Joker origin story. It is being officially labeled as a, quote, original standalone story not seen before on the big screen, end quote. Hangover director Todd Phillips co-wrote and will direct the movie. In the official release, it says about the movie, Phillips' exploration of a man disregarded by society is not only a gritty character study, but also a broader cautionary tale. This one actually has me curious. I want to know how much of the Killing Joke is going to be used for inspiration. I want to know if it's going to have the multi-layered view of how the Joker sees his history. Is he going to keep making up different origins for himself, as he kind of alluded to in the Killing Joke to Batman, where he's like, well, sometimes it's this way, sometimes it's that way, or however he put it. Will Batman make an appearance and be instrumental in the Joker's creation? If Batman is in the movie, since this isn't connected, are they going to get someone else to be Batman? What made Joaquin Phoenix finally want to take part in a comic book movie? He was up for Doctor Strange and probably a few others. And he didn't choose those, but he chose this. I remember reading somewhere, and this is me just... this isn't an exact quote. He said something along the lines of, the character scares the effing crap out of me. And he also has stated that he loves character movies. So I'm really interested in this one because I don't think he would have done it if it didn't have a complex character for him to play. So yes, part of me is genuinely excited about this one. That being said, yes, DC's had a few okay movies lately, but their track record isn't the greatest right now. All right, sticking with what is DC doing. The Rock's Black Adam movie. Is it happening? Hey, do you remember that time when The Rock was announced to be in a Black Adam movie in the DCEU? While at a premiere for his movie Skyscraper, The Rock gave an update on the movie, sorta. The Rock says, quote, "The script is coming along. I'm very happy with it. That's a project that obviously you want to take your time with," end quote. Now, one would think that he might be appearing in the Shazam movie, given the history between the two characters, but according to The Rock, this is not the case. The Rock says, I'm not in this one. It's Shazam and Black Adam, and with the way the DC universe works, we should, in theory, meet up on the big screen, but who knows. While he does say that he isn't in it, I don't know if I buy it. While this may not happen, as well as the Black Adam movie itself, for that matter, I could see the character showing up in a post-credit scene that The Rock is just keeping a secret. I want to give the Warner Brothers that much credit, I really do, but, you know, as we said, their track record. But when it comes to the DCEU, I have a feeling that we might be hearing more about all these movies and maybe some other things from the Warner Brothers panel at San Diego Comic-Con coming soon. Now, with the DCEU out of the way, and what is DC doing out of the way for this week? Technically, there's a quick hit too, I believe. Couple of them, actually. Now with them out of the way, let's talk some Marvel stuff. You wouldn't think there'd be any news about Avengers Infinity War, but there is. First, there were rumors out there that the Blu-ray release of Avengers Infinity War might be getting a director's cut. or a Thanos cut, as many were calling it. This came from reports that there is apparently, get this, 30 minutes of unused backstory for the Mad Titan. Now, in a movie that's already jam-packed with Thanos, and I loved every second of it, I'm more than okay with this. But if this stuff would have been kept in the movie, it would have pushed the runtime over 3 hours. Which makes for less runtimes at the theater per day, by the way. Which makes for angry Disney executives making less money in bonuses. So, you know why they cut it out. While this would be awesome and still could happen, the details of the Blu-ray release reportedly do not show any indication that this Thanos cut is going to be a part of it. There are some featurettes and a few deleted scenes, but no mention of a director's cut of the movie. At least the information that has come out. Now, this could change, I don't know. Well, let me just say this. If this footage does exist, I have a feeling that we may be getting a second release of the movie in the fall or closer to Christmas time for that Christmas cha-ching. Because I imagine a lot of people would want the extended version of Avengers Infinity War in their stocking. This would be similar to what was done with the Lord of the Rings movies and their extended cuts. They would release, they came out around Christmas time. The DVDs came, or the movie was in theaters around Christmas time. The DVDs came out early the next year, and then the director's cut came out closer to when the next movie was coming out. Even better would be that if they released a limited theatrical run of this Thanos cut closer to the end of the year or early next year in preparation of the second half to the story. Now, I'd really love to see this because any box office money that it brings in would count towards the original's total. Just like with James Cameron's re-released extended cut of Avatar. And if this were the case, then it could overtake the top of the worldwide box office from that movie. Because 30 extra minutes of Avengers Infinity War would almost guarantee that a lot more people would go see it again in theaters before it came out on home release. Moving on, I'm going to be talking a bit of spoilers for Infinity War here, but I mean, come on. Who hasn't seen it already by now, right? I'm going to be talking about the ending. If you didn't need any more reasons to be mad at Thanos after the first movie, leave it to Marvel head honcho Kevin Feige to ruin your day. When asked if Thanos' universe-changing snap only affected people or did it affect everything, including plants, animals, etc., he said yes. Yes, all life. At first, I had to ask, if this was the case, how does this serve its purpose? Wouldn't this limit the resources for the half that did survive? Like I said, at first, I was asking myself that. But after giving it some thought, and it didn't take long, because I saw Infinity War a couple times in the theater, and I really studied Thanos. I loved his character in that movie. After giving it some thought, I decided that this goes along with the whole, why didn't he just double or more the resources instead of taking half the universe out argument. The reason? He's the mad effing Titan. It all only makes sense in his head, his reality. It only makes sense to him. He says in the movie that nobody really understands but him. Nobody understands why he has to do what he has to do but him. It only makes sense to him. And to him, that's all that matters. So, it doesn't have to make sense. Because he's freaking crazy. That's why. It doesn't have to make sense. Only in his head does it have to make sense. And it does. So whatever he did, it made sense to him, even though it was chaotic for everything else. Lastly, in Infinity War news, Frank Grillo continues to tease Crossbone's return to the MCU in Avengers 4. In an Instagram post, he posted a picture of a toy version of his character, and the post said, okay, I guess my life is complete. Hashtag Crossbones, hashtag Brock Rumlow, at Marvel, hashtag Captain America the Winter Soldier, hashtag Captain America Civil War, hashtag Aven, and then he cuts himself off. While he did meet the business end of a bomb in Civil War, that doesn't mean he can't come back. I halfway expected him to come back in that movie. He did survive a pretty big accident in The Winter Soldier. And this is a comic book movie after all, so anything's possible. Plus, if the rumors of time travel being involved for the next movie are true, then there are tons of possibilities for characters that are gone to return. If they go back far enough and they're doing time travel, yeah, those characters might still be alive. There might be multiple versions of certain characters. Who knows what's going to happen? I got a feeling that this movie, and I hate saying this, I'm as excited as I am and as confident as I am, I'm also partially not very confident because I'm afraid it's going to get too complicated, but you never know. I don't know what they've got planned. All I know is I'm pretty excited for it. The next Marvel story we're going to talk about is a great Marvel wrong is finally going to be righted. Okay. For those of you that read, or at least used to read comic books, like me, do you remember the time that Spider-Man sold his soul to Satan, aka Mephisto, in order to save his Aunt May's life? And in exchange for a life in which nobody else, including Dr. Effin Strange, could help. Nobody could help. But for that help, he had to give up the existence of his marriage to Mary Jane Watson. Also, Peter could be single again because Joe Quesada is a freaking idiot. Well, I do. This is a story titled One More Day. And One More Day is the overall story that made me give up buying comics for good. For me, the story started, it's story time with Geno time. For me, the story starts at my very first Comic-Con, Chicago Comic-Con. Joe Quesada's there, and he's the editor-in-chief of Marvel at the time. And I believe it was his Cup of Joe segment, his panel. And I went to that and watched. And they were talking big announcements and everything, and he kept talking about how they were going to be starting a 3 times a month Spider-Man run with different artists and writers. And then he teased One More Day. And he said, things are going to be changing for Peter Parker. And part of me feels that Joe Quesada was trying to live his life vicariously through Peter Parker. And part of me feels that Joe Quesada wanted to have sex with Black Cat. Which, don't get me wrong, she's drawn very well. But he seemed just a little too attached to that character, if you know what I mean. Because he made a comment about, well, if Black Cat wants to have sex with Peter, well, he's married and he can't do that. So we all of us, there was a collective kind of, what are you going to do to Spider-Man kind of gasp in that room. And he's just like, things are going to change. You know, he's like, we already have a family. They're the Fantastic Four. You know, we don't need more families. You know, we don't need more families. And Peter needs to be single. And he wasn't really giving it away, but he was kind of giving it all away, you know? So, a lot of people weren't too happy with him that day because I think they knew he was going to screw up Spider-Man. And boy, did he screw up Spider-Man. I can't remember who the writer was on One More Day. I believe was his name Straczynski. J. Michael Straczynski, I think is how you say his name. He hated it so much that he wanted his name taken off of it. Anyway, so we'll move on to when this thing finally comes out. And I think there was 4 issues of it. And I was buying a ton of comics at the time. I was buying Cap and like all the Spider-Man titles and some Batman and Punisher, of course, and Civil War was just before that, and they were doing Spider-Man Back in Black, and then they changed, or Spider-Man Back in Black came after or during that. I can't remember. They were hyping up the black suit Spider-Man for Spider-Man 3, I believe. So they brought him back, of course, in the black suit. I believe it was when Aunt May was shot, because when he went after Kingpin, he was in the black suit, and I think he was trying to figure out who shot Aunt May, right? So, when the last comic of that's coming out, I was sick. I had bronchitis and borderline pneumonia. Now, I hardly ever had called off sick from work before, like in the years. I would go to work sick all the time, but I was at a point, I was at work, and my boss made me go home. And then all of a sudden it turned out it was that bad I could barely move. The only time I really moved was to go to the bathroom and to be dragged to a doctor's appointment. Anyway, one of those days, comics came out. It would have been a Wednesday, of course. And I'm handed the comic book, and I'm reading it. I'm reading the last issue of One More Day, and I'm getting madder and madder. And I read what Peter does. He sells his soul to Mephisto. Mephisto's like, you have to give up your marriage. You have to forget it ever happened, right? And I took that comic book, and I was a collector. I did bags and boards and boxes and all that stuff. I took care of my comics. I still do, the ones I have. They're still in boxes, just sitting there, of course. But I took that comic book, and I chucked it up against the wall. And I'm just like, F it. I'm done. I can't do it anymore. I could not do it anymore. I read that, and while I still would, read the occasional like graphic novel or collection of comic books or something like Punisher Max or something like that, because you could rent those back at the old comic shop near us. I didn't buy anything after that. Now, I think I bought the occasional comic book, like if I needed something to read sometime, and I was at the store and I just grabbed it and I wouldn't even know what was going on. But as a serious collector, that was my last straw. But here's the happy news. I don't even remember what year that was. But here's the happy news. It's been years and years. My first Comic-Con was, 2008, I think. So this probably would have been in end of 2008, early 2009, I believe. It seems now that Quesada's damage is about to be undone. Now, I vaguely follow comics. I'll read the occasional article if some big news is happening. Like if you're going to follow, when Cap turned Hydra and things like that. So I really don't know the details anymore because, again, I don't follow. But whether or not they are erasing the stupid decision that Quesada made or just getting Peter and MJ back together, finally, at least Marvel is righting a big wrong in comic form. That being said, I'm still not going back to buying them because I don't trust them. But I have a feeling they might be doing this because sales are down, and of course they know people hated it and hated Joe Quesada because of it. Don't get me wrong. Joe Quesada is a great artist. Stick to being an artist because you suck as the chief, and he's been gone as a chief for a while. He was involved with the movie division somehow. I think he still is, but he's not the head of it anymore. I don't believe. I think he was for a time. I believe that may have been before Disney took over. I don't remember all the history, but He's a good artist. He needs to stay as an artist. He's the one that created the Iron Spidey suit. I mean, I love that suit. I had him sign a print of the original sketch he made for it. Things like that, because I like the suit. But I have a feeling that they're bringing them back together really involves the movies, since MJ is in the new Spider-Man. I have a feeling that's why they're bringing it back. So either way, at least they're righting that wrong, because it ruined my love of comic books, knowing that the horny aspirations of one idiot would ruin a character just because he wanted to live vicariously through that character. It's stupid, but at least they're righting the wrong now, and that makes me happy. All right, moving on. We're going to be talking about another Cinema Snob movie. Many of you who follow me probably heard of my channel through Brad the Cinema Snob Jones's channel, and maybe even saw last Saturday that I took part in a 12-hour live stream to help raise funding for his next movie on Indiegogo, which is a sequel to the Cinema Snob Movie. And by the way, this Saturday, July 14th, from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Central, he is doing another fundraising live stream. I will not be involved, because I just can't. I can't get to where he is. But he's going to be doing another one if you want to take part in that over on his channel, channel, Stone Gremlin Productions. The movie that he's making is simply going to be titled Another Cinema Snob Movie, and we'll see the return of the character Brad played in the first movie. By the way, if you commented or asked me a question in the chat of the stream that I was involved in last Saturday, it was flying by so fast that I didn't see all of them. I saw a few. So if you did comment or have a question for me, feel free to ask me your questions or let me know what you commented in this comment section below or on Twitter at the Reel Geno. That way I can answer your questions or respond to your comments. So I know there was a few, and some of them just said hi or whatever. And but we were, first of all, I could barely see the names taken down there, going by so fast I couldn't see them all. I noticed a few names though, so if you have questions or whatever, please feel free to ask me here. Don't think I was ignoring you or anything. Trust me, I saw a few names, some I just didn't see. So anyway, if you want to ask me that stuff, you can do it here as well. Here's the synopsis of the movie. Having portrayed the popular YouTube character, the Cinema Snob, for many years, Craig Golightly, played by Brad Jones, is set to release an original film all of his own to theaters. When the film is laughed off the screen and flops, Craig and the film's drunken director Marcus set out across country 70s road film style with two other YouTube celebrities, an eccentric musician and a gamer going through a controversy. In a quest to save their careers at the hands of Craig's father, a powerful former TV executive. It's just another week of being the Cinema Snob. When it comes to the perks for donating towards the movie, they range everywhere from $10 to $1,000 with all different perks. It's one of those things where the higher you go, you get everything below it, if you understand what I'm saying there. And I won't mention all the perks here. I'll put a link to the description. I'll put a link in the description below if you want to see all the perks to the Indiegogo page. But I will say that if you were ever wanting to pick up some of his other projects on DVD or digital download, this would be the time to do it. Some of the perks include copies of his other movies and DVD collections. And to be honest, it would be cheaper in most cases to donate to the movie and receive the perks versus just outright buying the movies from him. Because you not only get that stuff, but you get to help support his movie as well. The total that he is trying to raise is $50,000, which was the same goal as his last movie, Jesus Bro. with a stretch goal of $75,000. Now, unlike Jesus Bro, which had a flexible goal, this one has a fixed goal. So unless the campaign makes its goal, the movie won't be made, and none of the donations will go through. It's all or nothing on this one for him in making this movie. The stretch goal of $75,000 is to get a name actor or actors to play important roles or an important role or roles in the movie. Well, I won't say who it is. Let me just say this. If Brad can get this actor for the role, at least for the big one he wants, it will be amazing. If Jesus Bro is any indication, and you are a fan of Brad's, this movie will be a hell of a good time. As of the recording of this podcast, the campaign is at about 38% of its $50,000 goal, with about a month left, so there is still a long way to go and a short time to get there, as they say. I, for one, want to see the extremely fun chaos that this movie could provide, but it can't happen without your help. Again, if you want more information on another Cinema Snob movie, I'll provide a link to Brad's Indiegogo campaign in the page, or to the campaign page in the description below. Now on to quick hits. San Diego Comic-Con has released its Saturday schedule for this year. With Marvel skipping Comic-Con to avoid spoiling Avengers 4 and other projects, what will be taking its place? Warner Brothers will still be having its usual beginning of the day panel, where it will probably feature movies like Shazam, Aquaman, and Wonder Woman 1984, and probably have some stuff on Godzilla 2, or may not have some unknown announcements. So who's taking the top spot this year at the end of the day? Why, that would be none other than your favorite fourth wall breaking merc with a mouth himself, Deadpool. No, they're not going to be talking about Deadpool 3. We think anyway. 20th Century Fox is hosting a panel for the already released Deadpool 2 on Saturday night in Hall H, with appearances by Deadpool and pals. So you can probably expect Ryan Reynolds to be in attendance. But that's not all. At 10 p.m. on Saturday night, Comic-Con will be hosting a screening of Deadpool 2 Uncut. Director David Leitch said earlier this year that an extended cut would be released, but it looks like those in attendance in Hall H will get to see it first. And speaking of, quote, Deadpool 2 Uncut, it's not going to be called that when it comes out on digital and Blu-ray. It'll be called Deadpool 2, the Super Duper Cut. And it is headed to digital August 7th and August 24th on Blu-ray. There's no word on how much longer the movie is going to be or what is going to be added, but I'm wondering if it will have the missing quote-unquote baby Hitler post-credit scene that was dropped from the theatrical release, maybe some more Juggernaut, maybe X-Force will last a little longer, probably not, it's too funny that they didn't. Maybe there will be a scene with Deadpool digging up Wolverine after Logan ended. The possibilities are endless. Maybe he'll visit Blade 3. Sticking with Deadpool, the character's co-creator Rob Liefeld tried to help in the casting of Cable for Deadpool 2, only to not only piss off Fox execs, but also insult the man he was trying to get to play the part, Russell Crowe. He said, quote, "One night before I went to bed, I didn't know Russell Crowe was on Twitter, and I stupidly tweeted to Russell Crowe, not ever thinking he'd answer me, and I go, 'Hey, Russell, you should read for Cable.' That didn't turn out very well. I got yelled at a lot because I woke up because he's in Australia to Russell Crowe saying, 'Read for it.' And my manager said, 'Yeah, Russell Crowe doesn't read for parts, Rob. You kind of insulted him.' I'm like, 'I'm sorry. They just haven't picked Cable yet, so I'm just putting it out there.' And then my phone rings, and some Fox people may or may not have yelled at me for an hour." As entertaining as Josh Brolin was in the role, I think it's safe to say that the way the situation happened was, in the end, probably for the best. Sticking with Marvel, it seems that the DC Universe is not the only comic book place that Nick Cage will be a part of this year. In Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, Cage will be playing a character that was made popular in the video game Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions, Spider-Man Noir. This version of Spider-Man is an alternate dimensions version of Peter Parker who lived in the 1930s. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse will also star Shameik Moore as Miles Morales, Jake Johnson as Peter Parker, and other cast members include Haley Steinfeld, Mahershala Ali, Liev Schreiber, and Lily Tomlin. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse opens in theaters December 14th, 2018. Also, as a reminder, Nick Cage is playing Superman and Teen Titans Go to the movies. Another actor is set to play in both comic book playgrounds. I'm going to butcher this guy's name. Djimon Hounsou is set to not only return as his Guardians of the Galaxy character Korath in Marvel's Captain Marvel, but he will also be playing the Ancient Wizard in DC Shazam, alongside Zachary Levi. Here's something that's even better. The original name of Shazam, of course, was Captain Marvel. Shazam is set to hit theaters April 5th, 2019. Now about an actor that doesn't plan to play with both brands. Lawrence Fishburne has said that he doesn't think he'll be in another Superman movie. While he said that he was grateful to have been able to play Perry White in both Man of Steel and Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, he doesn't imagine that he will be invited back for another one. He said, quote, "I don't know that I need to go back or if they'll have me back or not, but I was grateful to have been a part of it. I loved working with Zack Snyder. I think he makes an incredible superhero movie. I'm just excited to be part of the MCU now." He also said that he doesn't think there is a Man of Steel 2 in the works anyway. He said, quote, I haven't heard anything about it. They just fell behind the 8 ball. I really wish they had started 20 years ago, but that's all right. They are where they are. He also said that he is excited to be able to play Bill Foster, aka Goliath, in the MCU, and while he hopes that he will get to suit up in the future, he isn't pressuring the MCU bosses about it. He said, quote, I want this all to happen organically. If it happens, if I get to suit up, great. If I don't get to suit up, at least I'm in the MCU. Hey, it's more Marvel news. J.B. Smoove has been cast in an unknown role in Spider-Man Far From Home. Also, a lot of sources are claiming that Jake Gyllenhaal is confirmed as Mysterio, but I can find no credible ones that aren't just looking to clickbait the issue. I'm not saying that it isn't going to happen, but a lot of sites are fudging what they really know about this one, and they're just doing it for clicks. Arguably the biggest breakout star and my favorite character from Black Panther, Winston Duke, who played M'Baku, is taking on the role of famed Street Fighter turned MMA cage fighter Kevin Kimbo Slice Ferguson. The movie Backyard Legend will follow the rise of Kimbo Slice from homelessness to fame. The movie's producer Steve Lee Jones had this to say about the project. It's a rich and layered tale about this man's incredible journey from a poor neighborhood in Miami to becoming a worldwide phenomenon. We are ecstatic that Winston decided to take on this both physically and emotionally challenging role. We simply could not have found a better Kimbo. I really have to agree with him. That guy, I think he's going to do great. Jeremy Renner is trading in his bow and arrow, at least for a little while anyway, for a detective's badge and gun. Renner has been cast to play Detective Maximilian Stephen Percival Williams III, or Twitch as he is more commonly called, in Todd McFarlane's Spawn reboot. He will join Jamie Foxx, who is playing Spawn, aka Al Newman or Simmons, if they can figure out all this lawsuit crap. The casting of Renner as Twitch is a bit odd. Not that I'm doubting his abilities or anything, but Twitch is more of a brains not brawn type of character, yet still a badass in his own right. Hopefully they will let him play the character as he's meant to be played and not try to make him a cooler, edgier character or something. I'm curious who they will cast as Twitch's partner, Detective Sam Burke. In my opinion, you can't, or at least shouldn't, have one without the other. I've always thought that John Goodman would be a perfect fit for that role. Quentin Tarantino is trying to block the sale of the Weinstein Company because they owe him a ton in royalties. While the total that they owe is not known, it is said that he is owed money under agreements for his films Death Proof, Inglourious Basterds, Django Unchained, and The Hateful Eight, not including being paid $4.3 million in royalties. Speaking of Tarantino, his cast for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood just keeps growing. He added Spencer Garrett, Martin Kove, love that guy, James Remar, and more to his cast that already included Leonardo DiCaprio, Brad Pitt, Margot Robbie, Timothy Olyphant, Luke Perry, Damian Lewis, Dakota Fanning, Al Pacino, Emma Hirsch, Clifton Collins Jr., Tim Roth, Michael Madsen, Keith Jefferson, Scoot McNairy, and Nicholas Hammond. What do you think? He needs a few more big names in there, right? Vin Diesel's Bloodshot movie, based on the Valiant comic superhero that was popular in the 90s, is set to begin filming in August. I guess I'm going to have to wait even longer for that next Riddick movie, huh? Legendary Entertainment has announced plans to develop a live-action Gundam movie in participation with Japanese animation studio Sunrise. The big question is, which franchise are they going to base it off of? My vote would be for Gundam Wing, which is the only one that I could really get into, but I'm guessing that they'll probably go the more, quote, original story route. Blood Will Flow, according to a tweet from the official Twitter page of Netflix's Castlevania series. During a Netflix anime panel at the Los Angeles Anime Expo, John Dardarian, director of Japan and Global Anime, made the announcement that Castlevania Season 2 will debut on Netflix on October 26, 2018. The 8-episode season will be written by Warren Ellis, animated by Powerhouse Animation, and executively produced by Adi Shankar, the same team behind the amazing Season 1. Along with the second season announcement, Richard Armitage, who plays Trevor Belmont, confirmed that he is already recording voiceovers for the third season. The show follows the events of Castlevania 3, which was the original on the original Nintendo Entertainment System. I'm really hoping that they will add the character of Grant Dynasty from that game in this new season. According to Simon Pegg, it is only a matter of time before he and Edgar Wright work together again. The last time the two teamed up was for 2013's The World's End. Pegg says the only reason they haven't worked together again sooner was timing and scheduling. Quote, "Oh yeah, that's like a given. The only reason we haven't is just timing. Me and Edgar and Nick Frost are not colleagues, we're friends. We go back a long time and we have a relationship that transcends work. But if only to hang out or only to hang with each other for an extended period, we'll make another film again. It's just with our various commitments, we will have to find the time to write and make it. Me and Edgar talk about it all the time, and whenever we're together, we start brainstorming. And we have certain ideas we want to develop. It's just a question of when, not if. Well, I'd love to see Pegg and Wright do something like the Cornetto trilogy again. I would love to see Pegg in Wright's rumored sequel to Baby Driver as well. Speaking of sequels, Disney has officially moved Indiana Jones and the Lost whatever the mystic title is going to be all the way to July 9th, 2021. This means that we will have to wait until about 4 days before Harrison Ford's 79th birthday to see his swan song as the iconic character. In other sequel news, the Christmas movie season has just gotten a lot more crowded. Mary Poppins Returns has been moved up a week to the release date of December 19th, which would put it in contention with 4 other movies. Holmes and Watson, starring Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly, Alita Battle Angel, plus 2 other smaller movies, Aquaman and Bumblebee, on December 21st. Well, I think that one of the 2 will budge, probably Bumblebee. It's already a tight December movie season. While there really isn't any movie of note coming out the week after Christmas, the week before is the release of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, so nothing will probably be moved to that week. Gal Gadot took a little time off from filming Wonder Woman 1984 to visit patients at Inova Children's Hospital in Virginia, showing up in full costume. Wonder Woman 1984 is filming in the Washington, D.C. area, which is close to the hospital. She signed autographs, took pictures, and brought all sorts of DC Universe goodies for all the kiddos there. Wonder Woman 1984 is set to be released in theaters on November 9th, 2019. Well, this one didn't take long. There's not 1, but 2 movies already being planned about the Thailand cave rescue. One is from Pureflix, the studio behind God's Not Dead and Woodlawn, and the other is from the director of the upcoming Crazy Rich Asians, John M. Chu. Kevin Smith is taking a chance with his new show Hollyweed. The Clerks filmmaker has teamed up with Rivet TV to possibly get his show greenlit. On Rivet's website, you can check out the pilot episode of his show for free, and if you like what you see, you can pledge how much per episode you would pay to watch the rest of the season. It's sort of like an Indiegogo style campaign. You're only charged if the project gets fully funded. I'll be checking out the episode soon, and we'll let you know what I thought about it. Is Nathan Fillion going to be involved in some sort of project based on the video game Uncharted? He posted a picture of the rapper Drake with the phrase Sic Parvis Magna, which is Latin for greatness from small beginnings, and the date 7/16/18 on Instagram. Now, this is the motto of British privateer Sir Francis Drake, but also the motto of Nathan Drake from developer Naughty Dog's Uncharted video game series. There have been numerous attempts to get an Uncharted movie off the ground, from the David O. Russell Mark Wahlberg version to a younger Nathan Drake movie starring Tom Holland written by Joe Carnahan. Fillion has also expressed interest in playing the character before, but there is no indication on whether or not this is a tease for a movie, a game, or whatever. My question has always been, why don't they just get Nolan North for the part? While talking to fans on Twitter, William Shatner was asked if he had ever been asked to sign something from Star Wars or Star Wars related, not counting what I asked him to sign years ago. And his reply was pretty funny. He said, Carrie Fisher wanted me to sign one of her slave Leia photos. Does that count? When asked if he did sign the photo, he didn't respond. I'm pretty sure he did because, one, it's Princess freaking Leia, and two, when I asked him to sign a picture from Fanboys, a Star Wars related movie he was actually in, he wasn't happy about it, and I mean really not happy, but he did sign it. J.J. Abrams has supposedly cast Kerry Russell for an unknown role in Star Wars Episode 9. The only information about the character is that the role calls for, quote, action-heavy fight scenes. Abrams has worked with Russell in the past on both Felicity and Mission Impossible 3. Lastly, in quick hits, while not fully confirmed by Disney, The Hollywood Reporter claims that Billy D. Williams is in fact returning to the Star Wars universe as everyone's favorite scoundrel and galactic gambler, Lando Calrissian. Between him bowing out of a convention that would conflict with his filming schedule, Williams reprising the role in various cartoon series, in video games, Carrie Fisher being gone, and the character being more popular now than ever, with Donald Glover as Calrissian being the standout character in Solo: A Star Wars Story, it would seem likely that he'll make his return to a galaxy far, far away. That's the end of quick hits. Now I want to move on to the smaller YouTuber spotlight. This is a YouTuber I've talked about before on this program when talking about gaming. I'm going to be talking about Sidza Dragoon Gaming. At the time of the recording of this podcast, Tanis, the host of the channel, has around 1,000 subscribers. I think she's got a little bit over that now. I discovered her channel a while ago when I ran across her retro review of one of my favorite games of all time, the battle strategy fantasy game Shining Force for the Sega Genesis. For the most part, this is a channel all about gaming, but sometimes there is the occasional commentary on other things. Such as when YouTube just randomly decided to take channels down and for no explained reason a couple of years ago. One thing that I dig when it comes to anyone that does reviews is when they are brutally honest. In her review for Shining Force, again, a game I freaking love, she pointed out some flaws for the game that as a fan I kind of chose to ignore whenever I played the game. While I still love the game and won't let the flaws ruin it for me, I still had to agree with her on these things because she was right. She uses well-researched facts, tons of gameplay, and a bit of snark to make her points. She gives both the goods and the bads for all the games that she plays so you can make your own decisions. You can find not only reviews of games and gaming consoles on this channel, but some playthroughs or samples of different games as well. Tanis will play through a game just enough to give you a feel for what it's about. This is a channel that I highly recommend if you love gaming. You may discover a game you didn't know existed, or get an idea of a game, how a game is that you were interested in. When it comes to gaming, this is a channel I go to a lot. So if you want to check out Tanis' channel, Sidza Dragoon Gaming, and you should, I will have a link to her channel in the description below. Do you want to be the subject of the smaller YouTuber spotlight? If you'd like me to take a look at your channel, comment in the comment section below with a link to it. As of right now, I'm going to be taking a look at some channels that I like, or that someone has turned me on to. I do have some in mind, but I really do need some help. I've got a few, but I'd like some more to look at that I can spotlight on the channel. But so I'd like to hear from you guys. If you know about some smaller channels, or you have a smaller channel that you run, or some, like I said, some that you enjoy, please put a link in the description to it in the comment section below. Now onto the channel updates. Talking Movies will be returning this weekend. Check out this weekend for reviews. Hopefully, it's going to be a busy weekend for me, but I should be able to get to these reviews. For Won't You Be My Neighbor, the documentary on Fred Rogers, The Rock's Skyscraper, and Adam Sandler's return to the PG-rated dark side in Hotel Transylvania Summer Vacation. Geno's Bad at Games is going to be continuing soon. I bought some games during the Steam Summer Sale, so I'll be getting into some of those. I think I got an idea where I'm going to start, so stay tuned. It might just take me a little bit to get there. Now, a new function on the channel. I have a new playlist. If you want to find any video on YouTube that I've been involved in, or videos from either officially or unofficially, channels that are officially or unofficially under the GB3 umbrella, the Geek Be Cubed umbrella, make sure to check out the GB3 family playlist on my channel. I have videos from my artist Crimson, Bill's stuff, the Heisner stuff's under there. Any videos I've done with Brad are under there. My buddy Aaron has a LARPing channel. I've got that under there. And I actually found an older video filmed at Anime St. Louis. And I don't even remember what year this was. I think it was probably 2011, 2013. Or 2012, I mean. From Anime St. Louis, where I took part in a mock casting call for a Transformers movie. A Michael Bay Transformers movie. So if you want to see me embarrass myself, check out the playlist on my channel. Please follow me on Twitter and Facebook, mostly Twitter because I hate Facebook, as I've mentioned. You can find me at the Reel Geno, ReelGeno. You can get the latest news from me and from my GB3 partnership with Heisner. And of course, I want to draw your attention to these things. The Geek Be Cubed channel. Bill and I are working on some ideas. I'm wanting to try to get Bill and Danielle to go head to head and me be the host of the trivia game, because both of them are trivia nuts, and that would probably be a more competitive game than whenever I took on Bill. Also, I want to draw your attention to Bill's channel, Heisner. That's Heisenerd. He does live gaming live streams and let's plays there. He does a podcast called Heisner Speaks. I believe it's kind of on hiatus right now. He's been playing a game called Hollow Knight, which is a Metroidvania style video game. Also, Bill and I will be getting together again this Monday to play the NES version of Cabal on his channel at around 8 p.m. Central Time. Again, that's on Monday. Make sure to check it out. This one, it's like a better version of... It's not so monotonous, but is a better version of maybe what Akari Warriors could have been. Cabal is a very fun game. We're going to have a good time playing it. That's going to be all for the podcast this week. It's been a long week for me. So, getting this thing prepared and just some things that have been going on. It's just been a long week. I'm recording this on Thursday. I got to leave for the theater to go see Hotel Transylvania, followed by Skyscraper. I'm going to try seeing both in one day. Using my A-list card from AMC. There's really no update on those. AMC just seems easier to use. I guess MoviePass right now is having trouble with people scanning the cards, but I guess it's not their fault. They said it was a MasterCard issue, like a countrywide issue, so there's nothing you can do because it's a MasterCard debit card. Whereas in AMC's runs off their stubs thing, so as long as their stubs their stubs systems are up, they're okay. So more bad news for MoviePass, I guess. I guess there was a little bit. That just came out right before I started recording. That's going to be all for the program this week. If you like what you've heard here, please subscribe to the Reel Geno YouTube channel. Feel free to like or dislike this video and comment in the comment section below. Till next time, I am your host, the Reel Geno, Geno Reynolds. Talk to you later. Peace.